Good evening, everyone. Thanks for coming, and we'll at this time go ahead and get started.
Flamini?
Here.
Funderburg?
Here.
Johnson?
Here.
Lopez?
Here.
McFarland?
Here.
Moore?
Here.
Zimmers?
Here.
That is 7 present.
President's comments. The thing I wanted to talk about tonight, the district has asked schools, there are 3 things they've asked them. There's many things we've asked of schools, but 3 things that we've asked them to work on this year is school environment, also student engagement, and assessments that make sense, that are usable, collaboration, in your school, the assessments we're giving, are they meaningful? And I will have to say this, in the schools that I'm visiting, I'm seeing all this. Schools are really working diligently on all these things. I was just at Springfield High today, saw a lot of good things there, walked through several classrooms, a lot of student engagement going on, good teaching going on in these buildings. Every building I've hit this year, I'm seeing a lot of good things. And I've said this many times, and I will say it again, I encourage citizens of this city, contact your schools, make a visit, see all the great things going on in our schools. So with that being said, board salutes. We'll start with Mr. McFarland this evening.
None, thank you.
I don't have any.
I have a couple. I want to thank Lanphier for inviting me to walk in their homecoming parade. It's been a tradition at Lanphier. I think they've done it over 40 years. Chuck, you were probably there in the parade sometime in the 1800s.
That's right.
But,
I sat in the same horse carriage with Lincoln.
But it was a great time. It was cold. We had a great time throwing candy out, and Mr. Doss wore the orange jacket like every principal does. So I had a great time, and also I got to go to the Girls City Volleyball Championship. My wife and I both attended there and sat in the wrong section with all the SHG parents, so that was probably the worst seating, but it was packed house. Congratulations to Springfield High School. It was a great win, and we always like to beat SHG, so pass it on.
Ms. Johnson?
I don't have it. Thank you.
Ms. Vandenberg?
No, thank you.
Mr. Flamini? Okay. Discussion items. 4.1, old business. Does anyone have any old business they'd like to discuss?
I do.
Yes.
Mrs. Gill, I'm going to ask you this because I told you I would. I have had a couple of comments from parents about the early out Wednesday and some issues with scope, and I was wondering what your resolution has been on that.
Well, we were able to actually hire 2 extra positions. Was it 2 extra positions
Yes.
at one school that had some of the biggest complaints? We had to sit down with our scope, and we actually asked them for their numbers, how many actually are staying, after school on Wednesdays extra and over. And so because of that, we were able to hire 2 there and 1 at one of the other elementary schools. Sheila, is that covering all the points?
Yes.
Regarding scope? Because we did see that there was a supervision problem with those extra kids on Wednesdays, and they were able to act pretty swiftly on those.
And also there were radios and all those kind of things were put in place too, so.
They added radios?
Added
Right,
radios
okay.
for communication purposes.
So are we monitoring now, since we're offering just that drop-in? If you want to just drop in on a Wednesday, you
Actually,
can-
they have to sign up.
Okay.
And so you can't just all of a sudden on Wednesday say, write a note and say, please go to Scope today. You have to have signed up, but the
In
school
advance.
has a way to, and the schools are continuing to communicate that to parents so that they know that they have to at least sign up ahead of time so that they know that they're coming. And also they have to fill out like an emergency card, and so they have data in case there's any student need. But we were able to make some swift adjustments to that once we realized that there was a problem, and they were very
Good.
understanding of our concern.
Yes, all right.
Yep.
Thank you.
Any other?
So, you have to sign up ahead of time, but suppose you don't need them every week. How much advance notice do you have to have for sign up?
You don't, actually, once you sign up that you want to attend, you're good for any Wednesday for the rest of the school year, and if you don't go that day, then that's fine. You just have to sign up that one time, and it's mainly so that they have the student information and they know what grade level they're going to, be assigned to, so they have a group leader that they know to go to. But if you don't choose to use it on a given Wednesday, that's fine. But they have to sign up until they have all the information, sort of like a registration process.
Okay, but I may not need you every Wednesday. So I have to sign up as a precautionary measure there? Then that would entail enrolling all the students in the program?
If you
A
think
little
it's...
leeway,
Right.
like I fall and break my leg. So maybe my kid might need to go to after school, after whatever it is,
Yeah, I
on
think
Wednesday. How much advance notice do you have to give? There ought to be some leeway in there. We put this.
you could sign
this
up the
through this
day
program.
of, just so that we have you signed up. If I, like, this Wednesday, if I decided Morgan wanted to go to Scope, I could go to the school and get in touch with Scope and get the right things going and get signed up, and then she could stay that afternoon. None of the buildings are so full that we can't accommodate
Okay, that's
that.
where I was going.
Except for the two schools we're having problems, but we added more staff, so we're fine, right?
Okay.
Yes.
So it's like.
Yeah,
not
we
2
want to
weeks
be,
in
we want to
advance.
be as responsive to the families as we possibly
Earlier,
can.
so you just
Right.
can't get out of school at 2:30.
And just go down there and say, hi, I'm
Right.
Morgan Gill, I want to sign up today. You have to have a parent sign up so that we have all the, if there's any health information or anything that we'd need to know.
Any other old business?
Yeah, this is something new, well, old business, but we
Old
haven't,
new business?
yeah, exactly. We haven't discussed it in a while. Can we get an update sometime about the Pleasant Hill property and where we are on that?
Sure, sure. I actually have somebody that wants to take a tour of it, so that's good.
You selling it?
We want to take a tour of it, we'll see where it goes.
I can give you a little update right now. if you
Sure,
like.
Okay.
yeah.
Right now, all the classrooms are cleaned out. They might have some desks in them, not desks, but cabinets in them. The gym itself has a lot of surplus items we salvaged from the old Matheny and the old Enos, and that is being, when we have time, we pick through that to make sure this is actually what we need, and the rest is either it's like old toilets and stuff like that, so that goes to trash. So the gym is full of stuff. The rest of the building is in pretty good shape.
Mrs. Moore, did you have something?
No.
I do have one item, and Cherie and Sheila, I'm not trying to put you on the spot because I did not forewarn you of this, but a couple of meetings ago, I asked about Health and Science Academy at Southeast, if you could give me some numbers on enrollment and what partnerships they have with the medical community. If you do not have that tonight, that's fine. Like I said, I didn't forewarn you, I was going to ask it again, so whenever you can get it to me.
I mean, you've got some information to share tonight? Okay, all right. We can get that to you, but I do want you to know that we have some interesting people in the community. UIS, I met with them the other day, and just with their new partnerships with their nursing program, they were very interested to hear about our program and what they might be able to do to support our students that are in that might have a pre-nursing career or a medical career in their future. And then also we met with some groups from the Project Lead the Way about some curriculum that we might be able to look at to really beef up and support that program. And I had a conversation with Mr. Nguyen, so things are moving to see what we can do to make that the best that it can be, and we'll get you those numbers.
Good, thank you.
Sure.
Okay, any other old business? Hearing none, let's move on to 4.2, new business. Does anyone have any new business? No new business? Okay, hearing none, we're going to go into presentations to the board, 5.1. This evening, we're going to have a presentation from Mr. Frost, principal at Springfield Ball Charter, and his staff on their annual report. So welcome.
I'm having problems with the display tonight.
That's okay. That's okay.
Sorry.
That's all right. Most of the important information is with the folks here. So we just want to thank you again for letting us come to speak with you. We're going to give you an update on some things that are going on at Springfield Ball Charter School, and then hopefully give you some information that will be helpful. And I just want to introduce, to start out, the people that I brought with me tonight. For those of you that don't know, I'm Matt Frost, the principal there. This is my second year at Ball Charter. I brought with me Tiffany Burris, who is our assistant principal. Barb Brett is one of our literacy specialists. On the end is Hope Kennel, middle school math and science teacher. And I'm going to introduce last, but first in our presentation, Nicole Evans, who is a parent and also the president of our board of directors.
Well, good evening, Superintendent Gill and members of the Board of Education. As Matt said, my name is Nicole Evans. I'm the president of the Springfield Ball Charter School Board of Directors. Our board is comprised of seven members. Myself as president, our vice president, I think just came in, Jamie Sisti. Our treasurer is Mr. Dominic Watson. Our secretary, Ms. Teresa Jones. Our community representative is Candace Trees. We also have a parent representative like myself, Ms. Tracy Drew, and our District 186 representative, Sheree Morrison. On behalf of the Springfield Ball Charter School Board of Directors, I'd like to just take a moment to thank President Zimmers for visiting the charter school in this past month. Mr. Zimmers visited the charter school to share with us the main roles of board members. Just like each of you, our role is to set policy for the Ball Charter School, to set an annual budget, and to oversee and evaluate our administration. We're very fortunate to have a working relationship with District 186. Our school, as you know, was created to be a laboratory-type school, given flexibility to try new strategies that can be evaluated for effectiveness and possible duplication within other schools here in the district. This last month, President Zimmers gave us some ideas that we can take back to our board and implement. And it's this type of give-and-take relationship that sets Springfield Ball Charter School apart from other charter schools here in Illinois. We value our relationship with the district and hope that you may like some of what you hear tonight and take it back to other schools within the district so that we can all continue to learn together. I'll turn it over now to Ms. Tiffany Burris.
Okay, good evening, and I am here to discuss our discipline data. So over the last 2 years, this is my second year at Ball Charter, and we have seen some dramatic decreases in discipline, and our suspension data is pretty much leveling out to be the same thing. Just to give you a brief history, in 2011, 2012, there were 806 discipline referrals written, 52 suspension, which equaled 118 days. 2012, 2013, there were 1,405 referrals written, and 62 suspensions equaling 108 days. 2013, 2014, there was 969 referrals written, so we saw a decrease in the referrals. 68 suspensions, which equal 92 and a half days. Even though our suspension data looks like we're having more suspensions, our days out of schools are being decreased, and that's due to less students not being repeat offenders. Once they're suspended once and we put the checks in place, they tend to not get suspended again. And then up to date today, we've had, so far this year, we've had 82 discipline referrals written, and actually the number is 12 suspensions, with equaling 16 days. So our days are still coming down, and some of the things that we're putting in place with the suspensions are when the kids come back from a suspension now, they automatically are placed, the parents get a letter to automatically place that student on check-in, check-out. We have them check in with either our school psychologist and our school social worker. So what we're trying to figure out is, why are you getting suspended? Why are you in the office? What are your problems? And if there is an issue, we will help you with that. For as our discipline referrals, one of the things that we're doing, we've tied our behavioral expectations with the social emotional learning standards. So when a kid is in the classroom, and some schools have BIS, it's an accountability piece that we place on the students. And what we're asking the students, just like if you were a BIS school, we're asking them to, why are you in trouble? What did you do to cause the disruption? And what other choices can you make, and how can you prevent this from happening further? So a student would have to fill out one of those forms before we go to the next step with giving that student a referral. And one of the things that is doing is keeping them from, and it's allowing them to think about their behavior and correct the behavior on their own, so that we don't have to do the corrections for them. So we're going to continue to look at that and see how that play a part in our discipline data. We've also looking at our bullying issues, and we've looked at how we will tackle bullying this year. So I've told students, as soon as we get a report, parents are going to be notified, the victim parent will be notified, the bully parent will be notified, and the bystanders. So when I get the names of the bystanders, I pull them in. We also send home some information on how to talk to your kids about bullying. And we're keeping track of that data so that we can see if it ever comes back on us, we know that we did respond appropriately. So right now we are just trying to we're doing more prevention in the front end and then responding appropriately.
All right. What I want to highlight for you next is some of our achievement data, and then we're going to look at what responses our teachers have found and implemented to try and fix some of the concerns we have with our student data. When we look at our ISAT trends for the last 3 years, especially in reading but also in math, we see some dip in our evaluation and assessment scores. And just to give you the numbers since you can't see them, in 2012, our overall meets and exceeds in reading was 57% with the new cut scores. In math, it was 50%. Fast forward to 2013, and our reading dipped to 53%, so a drop of 4%. Our math stayed steady at 50%. And then last year, our reading dipped again, and our overall meets and exceeds for reading is down to 46%. And in math, we dipped a point to 49%. So as we looked at this information, obviously there were some red flags for us, and we knew that we needed to do something different. We knew we needed to respond and find some ways, like Mr. Zimmer reported earlier, to get students more engaged, to look at assessments that are meaningful, and to look at our culture to see what kind of things are we doing to make sure that this is an environment where kids can learn and succeed. So the teachers are going to report on a couple of things that we've done curriculum-wise to be able to address these issues. One of the things we were able to do was look at our schedule to offer some intervention time before school and also during the school day for our middle school students. So we adjusted the schedule to make sure that we were getting some time to address these concerns. We also were able to add a little bit of time to some of our specialists in the school so that we can address some of the needs of our students that are struggling in math. We'd had the extra personnel to handle that for our reading struggles, and we were able to add some time to get that math intervention piece as well for our elementary kids. So we've been able to find some time in our day to address these concerns, but then we also looked at school-wide and system-wide. What things do we need to do differently and to do better to make sure that we could address these needs? So two of those things that we're going to highlight tonight are a math curriculum that's K-8, gives us a much better scope and sequence for math skills and Common Core alignment to make sure our students are ready. And also then the IRLA program, which is a program from the American Reading Company. IRLA stands for Independent Reading Level Assessment. And this is looking at finding the Common Core skills that kids are lacking in reading and how do we address those needs. So I'm going to start with Mrs. Bretz in the IRLA program.
All right. Well, as Matt was saying, we had been using multiple assessments throughout the year, the DRA, Ames Web, and the ISAT, as well as our own continuum, to try to yield valuable information regarding where our students are at and what we can do to support them and help them grow as readers. But we found that we needed more specific information. We found that these tests, even though we were using multiple measures, they weren't always yielding valuable information regarding what we can do specifically to help students. So we wanted to see also what kinds of assessments would be based on the Common Core standards and yield better information and feedback, not just to teachers, but to parents and students as well. So a group of our teachers attended the Illinois Reading Conference last March, and they heard about the independent reading level assessment and came back rather excited about it and shared out. And we decided to send a group of teachers up to Marquardt up in the Chicago area. I was part of that team, and we got to spend a day seeing it in action in a school that had this program for about 3 years. We were very, very impressed just with how pervasive the importance of reading was throughout the school and how valued reading was throughout the school by teachers and students alike. And so we came back and talked with a number of people, and we had a little bit of professional development last spring about it, and in sort of a team approach to the decision making, we decided with Mr. Frost's leadership to take a dive and see what ERLA could do for our school. And it is a framework. It's not a program. They're very careful to say it's a framework based on the Common Core standards. What we liked about it was, one, it was a formative assessment. So it's something that's going on all the time. Daily, weekly, you're in constant, you have access to helping your students or helping assess your students throughout the week. It's also developmental, so it fit in with our continuum notion as well as the Common Core, because you're really looking at your students through the lens of the Common Core. It's looking at comprehension, text complexity, all those foundational skills, as well as vocabulary. And we love it because it's actually assessing students in meaningful work, and it's also cross-curricular. We have teachers in social studies and science who are assessing reading in those subjects. So it's nice to see because it's performance-based. It also fits beautifully with our balanced literacy model. There's components of read aloud and accountable talk as well as writing to get to reading. So it also provides tools for very targeted instruction, which our teachers really appreciate. So we've been in the process in the last month or so implementing this program or this framework, and it started out with very careful leveling of our classroom libraries, because we found that was critical to this component, that our students are reading books that are at their level, as well as getting a baseline on where our students are at. We've also carved out a half an hour of independent reading every day for every student. This had kind of gone by the wayside for some of our middle level students, 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, and so we put that back into their schedule to make sure that they have time to just read independently a half an hour every day at school. But it also requires a half an hour every day at home as well. And so we have a lot of incentive programs going on, both classroom, individual, as well as school-wide incentives to make sure the students buy into this as well, that reading at home is just as important as reading at school. And we can already report out some great results. At the beginning, we had less than half of our students, about 48%, were on target for reading practice. That means they were reading an hour a day, half an hour at school and half an hour at home. And as of today, we have 78%. 3/4 of our student population is reading an hour a day. And we have this documented, and parents actually sign off. And so it's neat to see how motivated they are to be reading at home. And 30% of our students right now initially are on grade level for this assessment. So we're hoping as the year goes on that will move up. Some of the challenges we've had are just understanding the whole process. This is a whole new framework for us, a whole new kind of way of looking at students, and helping the students understand that the complexity of the Common Core skills needs to be tackled at a level they feel comfortable with, and that we don't want to throw them into complex texts all the time and have them struggle. We want them to develop those skills at a comfortable level, at an independent level. We have received so much favorable feedback from parents and teachers and students. I just happened to be hearing after parent-teacher conferences, I was working in the hallway, and just to hear parents excited about reading, telling the students we got to go home and get some books and read some more, and students will stop us in the hallway and they're so excited because they reach the 100, step, we call them step milestones, and we're even celebrating this Wednesday because most of the school now is over 100 steps of reading, which is over, I think school-wide, 9,000 hours of reading. So we're having a big celebration school-wide, having kind of a read-in and a camp-out with s'mores. So everyone's excited about that, and it's just really instilled, again, a love for reading back in our school, which seemed to be a little bit frustrating for us, and now we have a framework that helps support us and lead us to growth. So thank you very much.
The other nice thing about this framework is it's all web-based, and so the teachers have access to student assessment information on the spot all the time. And any teacher that works with that student can pull up that student's information and see exactly what they've been working on, what skills they've mastered, what skills they still need to get through a level so that we can continue to move them on. So if they're going to see their speech therapist, they can work on some language skills with them and get that evidence documented. Same with a resource teacher. If a student sees a resource teacher, that teacher can also put in evidence that they've collected on a student. So it's a very comprehensive piece. And again, it gives teachers access. Like she said, it's formative. It's continually happening, and we've seen already some major gains because of it. So our math program, Ms. Kennel.
I brought some math textbooks if anybody would like to see them. I have a 6th, 7th, and 8th grade takers on math. So a couple of the problems that we had besides our ISET scores is we had 3 different curriculums in the 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade middle school students. And that was a major problem. That was hard for our kids to go from one classroom to another. And we were also worried about middle school math teachers were. We were worried about our students doing well, and we saw a wide gap in what our students could do and what we thought was going to be assessed. So that was one of our major concerns. So the curriculum we ended up developing is from McGraw-Hill, which also coincides with our social studies curriculum. The thing I like about it is it's tiered instruction, it's tiered assessment, and it's tiered teaching. And it's also tiered homework. So you have all of this that can tier to each individual kid's needs. So if I need to push those students above and beyond, I can push them. If I need to go back a step or 2 and they're not getting it, I can go back a step or 2 and give them intervention worksheets or things to work on. Every chapter has an essential question, which is great for writing. It's an easy way for me to get writing into math. The kids first are like, what? This is math class. We're not writing in math class. I'm like, yes, you are writing in math class. So we were doing writing in math class. And so it has a little section at the end of each lesson to kind of review the parts to the essential question. So not only doing it at the end of each chapter, but they're also doing it after every lesson. So I've seen a huge improvement in their writing, and they're so much better able to talk about math. It's amazing the examples they give. Another thing I like about this book is it has real-world connections and real-world careers. So if they wanted to be a water slide engineer, they understand how math pertains to a water slide engineer. And the kids are like, what? They use math? And like, yeah, there's all those careers that have math in them. So the kids are very interested in that. We have an online component for this. So if you look at the book and you see a little tutor button or you see a little red house, those are all sample problems that the kids can do online, and the parents can do it online, and the kids love it. So if they have a hard time getting the concept in math during the day, they can go home and they can click on the little schoolhouse or click on the little tutor button and go home and do the exact same lesson and get it home that night. I've had a lot of parents tell me, thank you, because we don't know how you do math this way anymore. It's just different than when I went to school. Like, just click on the tutor button, it gives you examples and step-by-steps how to do the problems. So parents love this online component. It also has vocab. So vocabulary is a big part of this, which is really good for math students. They have a hard time with vocabulary. There's online self-check quizzes. So if a student is getting into a lesson and they're having a hard time, they can do a self-check quiz and it immediately grades them and tells them where they are. And my kids are like, oh, I had to go back after the last test and give himself a self-check quiz. And I'm like, I've got it now. I didn't do so well on the quiz or the test, but now I've got it. I've done the extra practice in those extra tutor modules. We also ordered an ALEX program, which is one-on-one as a web-based instruction as part of this curriculum. And it assesses the students as to which topics they're ready to learn. And just for 6th grade math, there is 368 topics that students need to learn for 6th grade math. So it gives them one-on-one time, it teaches them, it gives them assessment, it teaches them how to explain, how to teach the program, the question, the topic, and then they're able to take a test and then reassess and do the problems. So they like how it's one-on-one, they love the computer part of it. So the kids are really excited about that. It gets students, for those who are below level, it helps them and gives back those skills they need before we do this simplifying fractions. It goes back to the skills, or if they know that simplifying fractions, it pushes them on above level. So it's really great for every individual student to get them back or to push them above where they need to be. So I love the one-on-one aspect of it, and I love the online part of it. We give our 6th grade students a placement, or give our middle school students a placement test. And out of 117 students, we had 1 ready for this curriculum. The other 116 students needed to be an intervention. So we are definitely not working towards Common Core status. So we are definitely taking things slowly. We're giving them lots of online tutoring. We're giving them lots of online practice. and then you can see every single lesson tells you if you're Common Core and if you're ready or if you're not ready. So not only do the parents know, but the teachers know, and every single lesson you get to rate yourself, whether you're ready for this Common Core standard or you're not. And so the kids are getting so familiar with the Common Core standards and whether they can do it and can't do it. So that's a great component of the program. So that's the math program.
One of the great things about our ISAT data and the slip that we've had is that these folks have taken the bull by the horns. All of the changes we've made have been teacher-led. They've known there's an issue, they've gone to find solutions, and the poor people that work in these companies have had to answer their questions and come, our staff has vetted these programs to find the ones that are going to be the best for our kids, and that's what it comes down to. And they've done a wonderful job of diving into both of these with their feet first, and we've seen success already. Obviously, we had one kid that was ready for this program in the middle school for math. Well, with the creation of the extra time and the attention and the time that the staff has put into planning and zeroing in on individual student needs, we've already seen growth. So we're excited to see what happens next year at this time when we come back with some information for you. We're excited to see even at the quarter as we are getting ready to send some information home to families about the growth that students have made. So again, they've done a wonderful, wonderful job of owning the data that we have and saying, okay, how do we fix it? So that's been kind of our MO so far this year is, okay, we've got to tackle these problems and come up with solutions that are going to get our kids where they need to be. So it's been fun to see. The last piece of information we have for you is just our list of ILT members. We, again, have been using our ILT, our instructional leadership team, to tackle these issues. We also then are starting this month looking at our environment for learning and some of the cultural things that we need to make sure are in place that these programs can be successful and these frameworks can be successful. And so we're looking to make sure what adult behaviors do we have going on with the staff in the building that are going to really accelerate the pace that the students can succeed. So we've had, again, buy-in from everybody. We've had a lot of support from our board of directors financially and asking questions. Our parents have been great. They're all on board and have been asking a lot of good questions and have been coming to informational nights. They've been signing reading logs. They've been logging on to get help with their students for the math that they need. So we've had, again, just everybody supporting this change in what we're doing, and we are excited about the progress we're already making. So thank you for your time. If you've got any questions, we'd be glad to answer them.
Does anybody have questions?
I do.
Sure.
In your new reading and math, especially the math, the emphasis in this discussion was on middle school. So what is your wraparound so that the children that are in K through 5 will be ready in the future to deal with the new math that you have put forward?
Good question. We have used in our K-5 system the Everyday Math program, which is by the same publisher. So we've got a much more consistent process as far as scope and sequence for those kids so that the stuff that they're doing in the elementary level are getting them ready for the program that's new to the middle level. We've got newer versions of Everyday Math now that our teachers in K-5 are using that are Common Core aligned. So again, the rigor in that program has stepped up a little bit. There are also some more online tools available for families in that new program. So we've kind of got the new shiny version of the Everyday Math that our staff has, again, had some professional development on. The companies come, show them how to use the program to go through some of the online pieces that are there in the e-suite that we've got access to, again, to kind of zero in on individual kid needs. So.
Okay, so then as we transition from K through 8, these skills that they are acquiring in the math and the reading, how are they going to transfer into the regular Springfield public school system for high school?
They're gonna rock it.
They're going to what?
They're gonna rock it.
Okay.
It's Common Core, so as long as you're doing Common Core and meeting those Common Core national standards, they'll transfer anywhere, not just to high school, but to any building or any school in the state and country.
And one of the things, even with our reading curriculum and our math curriculum, we're really pushing that academic vocabulary, and then actually we're pushing reading to learn instead of just the reading for fun aspect. So even if whatever school system they're going to, we want them to have the skills that they need to problem solve through any subject. whether it's math, science, social studies, or language arts. So pushing that academic vocabulary, teaching them how to read to learn. So that means that they will read some of the harder texts, they will struggle through it, but also supporting them as they problem solve. Those are some of the things that we're doing and we're incorporating to make sure that when they move on to District 186, they have those skills that they are ready to learn.
Any other questions? I have a question and a comment. Do you have these test scores broken down into gender, race, and income?
We do. I don't have them here for you, but I can send those to you.
Yeah, could
Absolutely.
you send it to us? 'Cause
Absolutely.
I'd be interested in seeing
Sure.
that. And then the comment I have to make, I really like the fact that you guys saw that you weren't doing well. There was not an adult in the building to blame the kids. You looked at yourselves and said, okay, what can we do? What have we not done? And so you took the bull by the horns and decided some things that you could do to help student achievement. That's great on your part, because I think people don't realize a lot of times our schools do that. They take a look at data and don't blame the children, but kind of look at themselves and say, you know, what are we doing, or what are we doing wrong, or what can we do better? So I applaud you for doing that. And the other thing is, and everybody in this room knows I'm a big behavior proponent. You guys did the same thing with behavior, because that's a part of it. You looked at your data from a couple years ago and decided this was not working for you, and so you're doing some reteaching of behaviors, which is having an impact on your school day. And so I applaud you for that, because I think we need to do more of this. I'm going to go along the next year or so. I'm going to be asking for more funds to support PBIS and BIS, so coming at you. So, good job.
Yeah, and
I've worked with your building in the past, you know, and I'm still working for the district. I like the things you're doing. Keep it up.
Thanks. And a lot of that comes back to the teachers as well. Tiffany and I try to praise them, because that work starts in the classroom, because if Tiffany and I are dealing with them, they're missing learning. And so when teachers take a second to get that kid back on track, it makes a world of difference. So we have seen a huge increase in the amount of classroom time kids are having because of their efforts.
And now we can have classroom time, so, you know, we're able to get into classroom, look at instruction, help teachers where they need help. So that, I was in classrooms this morning and I came down to the office, said, has anybody needed to see me? And they was like, oh no, it's been quiet. And that's what we want, you know, that, you know, the teachers are really handling the behavior in the classroom, and it's not a one and done. They are really looking at and working with the kids and building those relationships. So I appreciate that, so that I can do a little more training myself.
Anybody else have anything?
Thank you, guys.
Thank you
Appreciate
so
your time.
much. Appreciate it.
No.
I couldn't do those. Yeah, thank you. Okay, now it's time for 7.1 Superintendent's Report. Oh, no, I'm sorry, 6.1 Financial Report. I almost skipped you, Joe. I'm
I'll turn
sorry.
it over to
That would've been all
Joe.
right.
Yeah, you wouldn't argue.
President Zimmer's members of the board, attached is a summary of revenue and expenditures for the month of September 2014 for the education and the operations and maintenance funds. The accounts receivable outstanding report is also attached. As of September, outstanding state payments totaled approximately $3.3 million. The education fund revenues for the month were $28 million, with expenditures totaling $8.4 million. Revenues exceeded expenditures by $19.6 million. For the operations and maintenance fund, revenues were $4.87 million, and expenditures were $1.07 million, with revenues exceeding expenditures by $3.8 million.
Any questions of Mr. Basco? Okay, hearing none. So now it's time for the superintendent's report.
All right. Well, I've got a couple announcements tonight. First of all, I'll give a shout out to Southeast High School for winning the Superintendent's Cup this last Saturday. Beat Springfield High. So, and they've also beat Lampier, because it is an around the town tournament. So I was able to give the Superintendent's Cup to a very excited football team in the middle of the field, and I gave it to them and kind of stepped back like 4 inches, because they got very excited and celebrated their victory. And it was also their homecoming. So it was a perfect day, and it started off chilly, but it actually became pretty nice weather for a football game, and I'm sure they had a great night that night celebrating at the homecoming dance. So that was a really cool thing, and this is the third year, and it's engraved on the side, and they said it's theirs to keep for the year, and I don't think they're planning on giving it back up. They're pretty geared up for a good run in football. Also, wanted to just give a couple community announcements. Maybe you've heard, and it's been in the newspaper a couple times, about the Sangamon County Community Health Needs Assessment that's going on. And there's been a lot of meetings throughout town, and there's another one coming up on October 9th from 6 until 7:30 at Lanphier High School. And this is an initiative with Memorial Medical Center, St. John's Hospital, and the Sangamon County Department of Health. And the purpose is to provide input on community data to help identify community assets and gaps in the health care that's being provided, and assist in identifying priority health and quality of life issues in our community. And they have a survey, and if you come that night, you can take it paper pencil, or if you wish to, there's opportunities to take that online as well. But we will be there at Lanphier High School from 6 until 7:30 on Thursday, October 9th, and I'll be there also and say a few words to kick off that event, just in support of us getting that. Really, it's kind of an example of what we did at the beginning of the year with our physicals and immunizations, really identifying those health needs in our community and making sure we surround one another to help us kind of overcome those problems. So it's a great opportunity to give feedback about what's going on in our medical community here in Springfield. Also, I wanted to give a little shout out on October 14th, also at Lanphier High School in the Commons area between 5:30 and 6:30, we are having a district-wide college and career fair. And there's going to be over 30 Illinois and Missouri colleges and universities represented, where students and their families can come and get information and ask questions and start their process of thinking about college. And there's no, grade level on that. If you're a freshman and you're interested to start thinking ahead, or if you're a junior or senior and you're really getting down to the nitty-gritty, you're invited to this event. It is free of charge, and once again, 5:30 to 6:30 in the Commons area. You can just move around, bring your parents and families, and we're really excited to have this opportunity. So if you have any more information, Mr. Ramback at Lanphier High School can help that, or if you call here, we can get you in the right direction so that you can have that opportunity to go learn about some colleges in our community. I wanted to introduce Bree Hankins. She's here today. She's my new coordinator of our public relations and marketing. So Bree, welcome. I've already kind of explained who you are, but if you want to just give a little shout out and tell us a little bit about yourself, that would be great.
Sure. I'm Girls Beaker. I'm a Springfield native, born and raised. I've lived in North Carolina for the past few years, so I'm very happy to be back, and I'm working for District 186.
She's used to the mic. Hand it over.
So thank you, Jennifer, for your introduction, and I'm just very excited to be here.
Yep. She called this her first rodeo tonight. I'm like, yep, well, many more to come. Yeah. Well, welcome. I know that security's been on the mind of many in our district, and we've been working hard over the last 3 weeks to really think about our security as a comprehensive approach. Everything that comes into just how we do our procedures and our practices at our schools each and every day, to what's out there in the new security plans and what we're doing. So we know that it's a commitment of the system, complete system, to provide a safe and welcoming school environment. So that takes all of our staff and our teachers. It takes our students being very active in our security practices and processes, as well as our families, and really listening to all of our different stakeholders and where we need to go with our next steps. And we know that the most effective deterrent of any type of school violence or school problems that we might have is having a staff and students that have trust and relationships among one another, and a student body that is really willing to report suspicious and occurrences of any high threat that they may feel, and then our staff knowing those signs, being very vigilant, and making swift action and accurate action at the time that happens. There isn't any one security measure that's going to be a silver bullet. It's really a system in all those practices and how they interrelate and work together. Over the past few weeks, we've been working with John Philburn, our new coordinator of security, and Rick Sanders, and our principals, and all of the people who have feedback within our system of our different facets of our security planning. We've been collaborating closely with the Springfield Police Department and making sure we have all of our mandated school safety drills in place for anywhere from bus bus evacuations, building evacuations, our shelter and place drills for our inclement weather type issues, and also our K-9 unit drills that we have access to. Every one of our schools has an emergency safety plan that the teachers are aware of, and our incident command structure, so we know who's in charge if there is an incident in any of our buildings. We've audited also all the different security cameras that we have existing in our buildings and are thinking of plans of how we can improve those and get those into the right places. And also, we've conducted random handheld searches with security wands with the participation of the Springfield Police Department at our high schools, and we're starting to do our middle schools, and we're going to continue to do those on a rotating and random basis so that we can make sure our schools are safe and let the students know that we are checking and we have high expectations for their behavior. Security is a full day and a full evening of things that we need to consider. From the very earliest times of our morning with 0 hour to the very end of our day with all the activities we have in place, and on the weekends, security is an issue for us to consider. So once again, there isn't any one thing that we need to consider to change our security. It's a whole system that we need to look at. When we look at all of these issues, we need to think about the personnel that we need. We need to think about the supplies, the materials, the things that we can purchase to make our security even better. We need to think about all the protocols that we have in place for before school and in the evenings and on the weekends. We need to think about the drills that we're conducting. We need to think about what happens if it's bad weather and we're doing this and that. So there's all these issues that we need to think about, and also with electricity and technology needs, different circuitry boards that we'll need to have in place if we were to put in any type of a security measure. So with all this being said, it's not something that we can do overnight. It's not something, we have to have a short-term plan and long-term plan and have a whole lot of security wins in between. So I think Mr. Zimmers and I together are recommending that we have a board security team that we put in place. Mr. Zimmers will work this out with the board, but we would want 2 members from this Board of Education. We've already reached out to the Springfield Police Department, and they are willing to have some members serve. I'll want some members of my cabinet, and of course, John Filburn, our coordinator of school support, and we'll want to make sure we have principal representative. We'll have a student board member by then, and so we'd want to have them involved in that conversation, and then also some parents and community members, so that we can really surround this issue and look at all of the details and really get a plan in place. Mr. Zimmers, do you have anything else you'd like to add to that?
I don't think so. I think it's important to understand, and I think Superintendent Gill is correct. Anytime you're thinking about implementing something, you don't necessarily need to be expedient because you want to do it correctly. And so I think we need to spend quite a bit of time here planning for, deciding what we need, getting community input, getting input from the police, from board members, parents, whoever might be on this committee, because we want to do it right. We don't want to do it just to do it and do it quickly and leave out some steps. So I think it's a good plan to have a committee in place just to kind of look at all aspects of what we're trying to do here. Somebody had asked me the other day about security, and incidences that we have had. Our security plans, our civilian security, our police officers working in the building have acted swiftly, professionally. Our students have stepped up. Not that this will always be the case, but we hope it will be the case. And these people are well trained in our buildings, and we do drills constantly. Any kind of scenario that you can think of that may come up in a school, our schools practice these time and time and time and time again. Not that this is foolproof, fail-proof, but we feel like that our people are prepared. I don't think people realize a lot of our civilian security we have in these buildings, they have been around for a long time. They are highly trained people who are trainers of other people, actually. I mean, they train a lot of people. And so I think Superintendent Gill is correct. In the short term, we have some things in place, but we want to do this correctly. And we want to make sure that our students are safe and secure, as do parents and everybody else in this district. So I think we're on the right direction here.
Okay, thank you. And that's really the end of my report tonight. Do you have any other comments from the board?
I just have a question. In forming this committee, what time frame are we looking for in having our short-term and long-term goals? I mean, I don't want this to be lingering when people are expecting some something to be done, some action to be taken to make our schools safer.
Well, I think the board can really set that time frame in place for me. It's fine, and
I'd be careful, though, because we want to make sure we make the right decision the first time. And if we rush to, let's do something right now because we feel like we need to be more safe, which, by the way, I still question the we need to make our schools safer comment. I think our schools are safe. But if we rush towards that because we have a certain set deadline, it's only going to cause more trouble down the road. So I would be honestly more happy with just getting a committee together and finding out what they want to respond to and get information to us on the time frame that they set out instead of giving them an arbitrary deadline.
we can definitely give continuing updates. It wouldn't have to be a,
Okay, yeah,
you know,
that'd be good.
that's exactly the way I would want to operate that. And like I said, some of these things are going to take some time to study and make sure we have all the right figures and practices in place for you.
Anything else?
No, I think I'm ready to move on.
All right, now we're ready to move on to consent action items, and I'll turn it back over to Superintendent Gill.
Okay. I recommend approval of the consent action items 8.2 through 8.7 as described in the corresponding resolutions.
A motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Questions? Okay, hearing none, we'll take a vote.
Thunderbird.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Lopez.
Aye.
McFarland.
Aye.
Moore.
Aye.
Zimmers.
Aye.
Flamini.
Aye.
That is 7 aye votes, the motion carries.
Now we'll move on to roll call action items, 9.1.
Turn over to Gina.
Right, President Zimmers and members of the board, we would like you to approve the following personnel recommendations with a few changes. Classified hires, page 2, classified new hires, item 10, number of days should be 192. Curriculum compensation, page 2, item 7, tools for teaching, activity should be for 1.5 hours for a total of $39.71 each.
So moved.
Second. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion or questions? Hearing none, we'll take a vote.
Mr. Zimmers, was that second by Ms. Thunderbird?
Yes, it
Okay,
was.
thank you. Johnson.
Aye.
Lopez.
Present.
McFarland.
Aye.
Moore.
Aye.
Zimmers.
Aye.
Flamini.
Aye.
Thunderbird.
Aye.
That is 6 aye votes and 1 present, motion carries.
Okay, these next 3 items, this has to do with negotiations with different employee groups in the district. And what I will do, I think I'm doing the right protocol here. If I'm not,
Yeah, just start with 9.2, which is
this one. I'm gonna read the tentative agreement, ask for motion in a second, then we'll have discussion on it, but I want people to be aware of what's included in each one of these. And the first one is Springfield Principals Association, and language changes are being considered regarding early retirement options, use of trade days and emergency days. The salary agreement for 2014-15 is lane movement, which in layman's terms is basically a soft freeze. They're allowed to move a lane, plus any longevity that they may accrue. There's no increase in the cells. Restoration of the 2012-13 longevity freeze. When we had a hard freeze, a lot of the administrators weren't able to move longevity-wise, so that's being reinstated. And the last part of this, and this is contingent on the early retirement option, if funds are not used for the 2014-15 year, then the longevity that administrators would have had for the 2010-2011 freeze will be restored as of February 1st, 2015. Now, this is contingent on, correct, the RO not being used. This is a one-time only shot for this, so if the RO goes into effect, you get the longevity. If not, then that goes away for the 2010-11 longevity. The impact on the ed fund for the Springfield Principals Association is $177,399. So that having been said, I wanted to read the terms of that tentative agreement. So is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any discussion, questions? Hearing none, we'll take a vote.
McFarland.
Aye.
Moore.
Aye.
Zimmers.
Aye.
Flamini.
Aye.
Thunderbird.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Lopez.
Aye.
That is 7 ayes votes, motion carries.
Okay, the next item, 9.3, is approval of salary agreement, professional and technical support personnel. There is no language here to be discussed. This is only a salary agreement, tentative agreement. This is a step movement and longevity for these folks. No increase to the cells, but there is an additional step added at the bottom. The impact on the ed fund for PTSP is $38,934. Motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion or questions? Hearing none, we'll take a vote.
Just one moment, please. Moore.
Aye.
Zimmers.
Aye.
Flamini.
Aye.
Thunderbird.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Lopez.
Aye.
McFarland.
Aye.
That is 7 ayes votes, motion carries.
Okay, the next one, hang on, folks, because I got to do some reading on this one. So, this is approval of collective bargaining agreement with Service Employees International Union Local 15. There's quite a bit of language here. This just isn't salary, this is language. So I'll try to get through this, and hopefully it will be understandable and clear, and I don't put you to sleep in the process, so just bear with me. First one is 3.1A3. This has to do with vacancies and employment. This is a change in language concerning postings. Postings will go up within 10 calendar days rather than 10 work days. Posting will be up for a minimum of 7 calendar days. Interviews will be conducted and a selection made within 30 calendar days. The rationale behind this will speed up the hiring process, but will still give members the opportunity. The next article is 3.1B5. 1 year seniority per SEIU Local 15 is required for these additional positions: warehouse messenger, utility crew, delivery truck driver, and utility foreman. The rationale: these are promotional positions for which district experience will be helpful. Article 3.1B6, lateral transfers shall be limited to no more than 2 per employee per school year. The limitation does not include involuntary transfers, and all lateral transfers is subject to 90-day probation. The rationale behind this will limit the number of shifts during the school year and provide more consistency for students. Article 3.1D2, employees hired after November the 1st shall have their probationary period extend until December 31st of the following year. The rationale: a year and a half of probation was too long. Article 4.1D clarifies language. Active God days as they pertain to student attendance and exhausted emergency days do not apply to employees. The rationale: language necessary to avoid confusion of the exhaustion of emergency days and employee work calendars. Article 4.1G, changes call and time for food service employees to 6 a.m. rather than 7 a.m. Rationale: employees who need to report at 7 a.m. need to call in earlier so a sub can be contacted. Article 5.4B, vacation time for custodial staff. Vacations may not occur from August the 1st through August 31st. The rationale: employees need to be at work in order to prepare the building for the school year. All these language items proposed will be agreed to for 3 years. So we will not open up discussion on language for the next 3 years. Now, the following salary agreement is presented for your consideration. Step movement and longevity plus 1%. The impact on the ed fund is $169,521. So do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion or questions?
I just would like a little explanation for the rationale for 3.1, where we're speeding up the hiring process. Okay, are we, what's the the reasoning behind that? It sounds like are we closing anybody out from the opportunity?
We're speeding up the hiring process so we don't have unfilled positions.
Okay.
So in other words, with the old language, if you waited 10 work days for a posting, and let's say it's a special education attendant position, we want to, and this is clearly after school started that we're in a hurry, we want to make sure we fill those positions, yet still give people opportunity to apply. So that's why it's still 7 calendar days at a minimum. So in the summer, we can even post longer.
Any other questions? Hearing none, we'll take a vote.
Zimmers,
Yes.
Flamini,
Yes.
Thunderbird.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Lopez.
Aye.
McFarland.
Aye.
Moore.
Aye.
That is 7 aye votes, the motion carries.
I do want to say this because we will be asked, so I do want to include this. The entire impact of these that we have mentioned, plus the teacher contract that we approved last time, amounts to $1,924,309. That's the full impact for all the employee groups. So I just wanted to put that out there so everybody understood it, everybody knows the figure.
Real quick, just to follow up on that, can you let us know what we're looking at in terms of end of year right now, in terms of the budget, and what will be remainder to go into surplus? The reserves.
Where would we be right now?
Yeah, if everything holds steady right now, what would go in the reserves that aren't there now?
Probably looking at everything, we're probably around $600,000.
So even with all of this, we are increasing our reserves.
Yes.
Thank you.
And that's not what we think our budgeted savings will be at the end of this calendar year. That's in addition as well.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, 9.5, student discipline.
Members of the board, it is my recommendation that one 9th grade student be hereby expelled from further attendance at Southeast High School through the end of the 2015-16 school year without a program, and that a 7th grade student be hereby expelled from further attendance at Washington Middle School through the end of the 2014-2015 school year with a program. That one 7th grade student be hereby expelled from further attendance at Washington Middle School through the end of the 2014-15 school year with a program. And that one 7th grade student hereby be expelled from further attendance at Washington Middle School through the end of the 2014-15 school year with a program.
Motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, take a vote.
Flamini,
Aye.
Thunderbird.
Aye.
Johnson.
Present.
Lopez.
Aye.
McFarland.
Aye.
Moore.
Aye.
Zimmers.
Aye.
That is 6 aye votes and 1 present, the motion carries.
Okay, anything else?
Good.
Well, thank you all for coming. The next regularly scheduled board meeting will be Monday, October the 20th, and everybody have a great rest of the week.
I love hearing you.